Many states, Anne, are requesting working with the federal government on the return of overseas students. What do you think the impact has been on the drop in international students that's had on property?
Look, so there are a lot of suburbs close by to universities, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria, which have been really hard hit by Australia's closed border policies and by the loss of international students.
So,
So, in some of these suburbs, we have upwards of 1 in 4, sometimes 1 in 3 residents being international students. And in those areas, we've seen the sudden drop in students lead to a rise in vacancy, falling rents, and a flow on effect into prices.
okay, so
Melbourne CB. Oh, yes.
no, keep going. That's fine.
Okay, I was just going to say Melbourne CBD as an example, 40% of residents there were international students before the pandemic hit. In nearby Carlton, it's a similar percentage. Between the two of them, we've seen a reduction in over 7,000 international students in the area. In Carlton, we've seen unit prices come down 5.6% and vacancy rates more than double.
Do you see any of those areas recovering anytime soon?
Look, we do see recovery in these areas. The question is, how long will it take? So, we are starting to see universities work with governments to try and bring more students back. The question is, how long is that going to take? So, Charles Darwin University in the NT brought back a few students at the end of last year, but it really wasn't enough to bring us back to those pre COVID levels. Having said that, a lot of these student suburbs, as well as being close to universities, they're great places to live. They tend to have really good public transport infrastructure. They're closest to other areas of employment. So we would expect some local demand to help over the short term with these suburbs' recovery.
Yeah, certainly a ever-changing situation. Let's talk about office space, and the pandemic has certainly shown, well, many of us can work from home. Do you think the office sector is a good investment?
Look, you could argue that the office sector is a more risky investment than it was in the past. So a lot of people were questioning over the past year, is the office dead? What's going to happen to office space? So we've been tracking demand data on realcommercial.com.au very, very closely. And what we've seen is that businesses still do want to lease offices. However, what they're looking for in their offices is changing. And for landlords of offices, they need to be really paying attention to these changing trends in demand if they want to mitigate vacancy risk.
Because, I mean, look at the benefits of having an office. I mean, what are they now?
Well, a lot of the work that used to be done in offices, that individualised task-based work, might be more easily done at home. But then businesses are talking about that spontaneity, that innovation that comes from having everyone in one room at the same time, that just is far more difficult to achieve over Zoom. So those are the sorts of things, culture building, training as well, that are much more easily done in an office.
And do you think it's going to be the end for offices as we know them, or do you think over time everyone will start going back to pre-COVID times?
Well, I think that the office is still going to be around, but we will see a change in offices because it takes a lot of workers more than an hour to get to work. Businesses are thinking, how can we incentivise people to come into the offices? So we've seen a growing demand for offices nearby lifestyle. So people are explicitly searching for offices nearby restaurants and cafes and gyms. They're also becoming a lot more picky with the offices that they lease. So we've seen a massive uptick in demand for offices with green spaces, rooftop terraces, things like that. My favourite statistic is that we've seen a 600% rise in searches for pet-friendly offices.
Yeah, I can doubt for that. No doubt think that would be the case. But yeah, you've got the, on one side, you've got the travel time and the lack of that, working from home. But then on the flip side, you miss out on the connection of people. But thank you very much for your expertise today, Anne Flaherty from the REA Group. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. See you later.